And I believe that we are live. Hello! Ooh. Hello, welcome back. I do not have my regular skin. I don't know what it is. I tried to load the game. I tried to reload the game. I tried to unload the game. Not unload the game. I tried to do all the things to make it, to make it function, and it just was not functioning for me. So, here we are. We've got the that was a dangerous game we're playing. Look at that. These leaves are incredibly strong. We're back. We're back on the server. If you saw the thumbnail, here it is. This is what we're working on today. We've got the we're filling out the sky. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of work to do. We've got this thing, the entire map, and then we're gonna start with this thing because this is a little bit easier, and then we'll switch over to here. I've got some supplies set up and all of that, as well as we'll talk about some math. We'll see how the math thing fits in to this week. Didn't have a chance to read more of the book. A little bit. I read a little bit of the book, and so we'll fit that in there. It's Sunday. We're here. We're hanging out together, so yeah, come hang out, come talk, come hang out with me. All right, so let me explain, because it wasn't really explained last time, but yeah, let's do that. Let's start with that. So over here, you'll see this ginormous area, and if you look at the ground, you'll see that there's red nilium over here, and warped nilium over crimson nilium and warped nilium, right? So we got that map going on, and this is supposed to be a little mini map of the entire map area that I'm covering. So if we go, I'm gonna steal this guy's map because I want to. So the original goal of the season was to fill out this entire map and cover it completely in darkness. So if I pop this off, take a look at this. You'll see, actually we've got a little bit of an expansion going. Okay, you see how, hello friendly golems, okay. So you see how, where this cursor is kind of bobbling around? Let's go this direction, because then we can actually see it. Okay, cool, we're flying. So you see how on the map it's changing a little bit? Okay, let's see if we can't land on a tree. Yes, there we go, perfect. It's so hard to fly with the map. And the world isn't loaded. We're just in chunks. There we go. So you see how in the middle there's a kind of a glob of sorts that's just kind of working on that. So actually, I think we can actually do this. If we go up here, because I think we filled out 16. Yeah, we totally did. We filled out 16 already. So if I go here, I know that there's a line here. I know that there's a line here. Ooh, we fell because the world isn't loaded yet. Come on. We're getting there. I'm trying to explain while also fly and do all these things. Oh. Ooh, the golem. We know that the golem has to be standing on something solid. Ah! Really? Okay. Well, this is off to a great start, guys. Off to a fantastic start. We're just floating, hopefully. There it is. Ah! Ooh. Come on. I'm gonna waste so many rockets with this thing. You know what? We'll just crash into the shop. We know the shop has... There we go. So if we look at the map, check it out. Ooh, yes, the black line is appearing. Excellent. Let's do a little journey with me, shall we? And we'll load this black line in, because this is what we're trying to fill out this entire map with blocks in the sky at level y = 150. So it's quite intense at the moment, but it's gonna get even better. Oh yeah, look at that line. Look at that line. It's perfect. Oh yeah, we're gonna load all this in. We're gonna load all this in, and we're gonna show you how it works. But that's one of my points, is that I wanted to load this entire thing in and make a whole, make map art of this lower. See how there's this lower quadrant? That's my quadrant. Where the two green dots are, those are the green dot that I'm just about passing, that eye level. That is the home base. And the lower dot down there, that is the Village in the Sky, which we worked on and developed in some of the previous live streams. So, oh yes, look at that. This black line is going to be 2 pixels thick. This was a lot of number crunching, by the way, because you have to figure out how big the map size is, and then what it means, and like how to properly make it look decent, at least. So that's the plan. There's going to be an entire double thick pixel black square around this bottom border. Oh yes, it's taken so long to get here, but we're finally here and we're finally alive. How's your guys' Sunday? It's Sunday. It's March 21st, the first day of spring. Spring has sprung again, and I don't know, dude, I love this warm weather. This warm weather is amazing. It's so good to be able to finally bust out some shorts and, you know, be able to walk around, not have to worry about snow and things. Because up here in the north, there's lots of snow. Lots and lots of snow. It's melting now, slowly but surely. Also, I don't know if anyone else has this problem. I know I have this problem. Do your leg hairs, get removed? Or like, you know, not ground off is not the right word. Like rubbed off, because everything's constantly, you know, cold, and so we're always wearing jeans and all that stuff. My leg hairs get, you know, rubbed off by the time that winter ends, and so like the back of my calf has absolutely no leg hair. And I was like, ooh, see, I should probably get that solved. See, look at that clean black line. We're gonna hopefully start working on this thing too. Well, we're not hopefully, we are gonna start working on this thing so we can be double pixels, and that's gonna look amazing. Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. Ooh, someone's attacking me. Hopefully they didn't blow anything up. I don't know what that was. That was something spooky and scary. Ooh. Something's still attacking me. It's a little baby zombie. He decided to come join me. Oh yeah, I can't wait for this project to be finished, the tunnel around it. It's gonna be great. Yeah, so that's what we're working on. We're gonna work on that black line. We're gonna make sure that it looks good. We're gonna make sure that it's nice and solid, and then we'll start working on the netherrack around it and making it good. So yes, super excited for spring. It's fantastic. It's so nice to be oh, look at that, we're traveling, we're a red dot now, and we're traveling to where we need to be. There we go. Yeah, man, I'm just happy it's warm. Warm weather makes me smile, and when the game loads, it makes me smile even more. If it were to do that, it'd be amazing. There we go. It's also been busy, man. It's getting to the end. It's getting close to the end of, well, not truly the end. For some people, it's the spring break. For some people, it's the end of spring break. For some people, it's the week back from spring break. You know, there's tons of stuff that we're all doing. So it's nice to be finally relaxed and calmed down. You know, the schedules are clearing up. Weather's warming up. You can go outside again. It's you know, nice. It's nice and relaxed is what it is. I'm not making fun about it. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just trying to practice my accent for one of my classes. Yeah. We got talking a Cockney accent and make sure that it sounds alright. You know. So I'm gonna practice with you guys, and we're gonna see how it goes. Learning dialects. This is one of those things. All right, okay, so let me speak on some theater experience here for a second as we start this project, right? We saw, ooh, I am phasing through things, and I think the game's just not caught up with me yet. So let's, this is what we'll do. We'll do this, even though I just unput all this stuff in boxes because I wanted to, yeah. Well, you know, it's okay. We'll work it out. Let me speak to theater experience, right? So there's a class that I have to take. It's called dialects. I turns into dialects, where you have to learn the different dialects of different peoples, And it's not a judgmental thing. It's just us practicing the dialects that we know. And one of the ones that we're working on currently is Cockney. And that's actually really hard. It's a hard dialect to master because, you know, you don't want to make fun of anybody, and you don't want to make it sound nondescript. You want it to sound good, professional, and like you actually know what you're saying. Because if you don't know, then it kind of sounds weird and doesn't sound good at all. Yeah, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I changed my mind. I don't want to do this. Okay, and let's begin. We're just gonna run it all the way down, and then hopefully have enough to run all the way back. But we'll see. We're gonna see how much we use, because I believe it may be a full chest. I know there's a number. There's a math number. Ooh, speaking of. Excellent transition, Michael. Listen, guys, this book that I've been reading is amazing. There is a really fun, I want to make sure that we're good. Yep, we're good. There's a fun little theory that they have in there. Oh, we're gonna need so much torches here. Anyways, fun theory, right? They talk about, it kind of puts some math things on their head, if you think about it, right? So they say, the most recent chapter that I read, it was basically calling into question the equals sign. Because you say, right, if you say 3 plus 3 equals 6, you're stating a fact. You're saying, okay, hey, this equals that. And she does a really good job, and she just, you know, makes it, ooh. Well, that's no fun. Oh, man. I wanted to actually do an experiment to see how many I needed. So we'll have to, well, let's restart, because I didn't know that I completed that one. Okay. Because I think this one's full, right? This one is completely full. Yes, this one's completely full. So, what we'll do is we'll throw this guy down. We'll throw these guys, because I want to get a measurement of how many we use. So this one's full. Let's take this guy. And then let's take all of this. And then leave a space so we can take that guy too. Just in case we fall and die and there's something, you know, non-pleasant that happens to us. There we go. Okay. So she talked about, what was I saying? I was literally saying something and I forgot. You know, this is the problem with goldfish memory. Oh, she was saying about equal signs, right? Calling into question equal signs. That you're saying 3 plus 3 equals 6. And in general math, it works. Again, this book is not for the people who are computational math. This is definitely not big brain, but higher math about, hey, what's going on? What do you think? Why does math work the way it does? It's if you're looking for math theory like calculus, if for whatever reason you wanted to learn calculus, this is not the book for you, because it's taking everything you know and turning it on its head. Right? So she said, to say things are the same, it can be problematic, because in math it's not necessarily always that way. Just because they're equivalent and the same are not the same, they're not the same expression. If you were to say something is the same, that you're saying that it is that thing again, right? So you know that if you say 3, that you mean that if you say another 3, that those things are the same. Now, they are also equivalent, but equivalency is not similarity. And that was a really big concept, and I was like, wait a second. What are you talking about? Equivalency and being the same isn't the same thing? What are you talking about? So she made this example, right? So if you take a kid and you give them 2 pieces of cake, they're in the kid's mind, one piece of cake will be more right or more better or more correct than the other piece of cake. They'll be looking at it and be like, no, that one, I want that one because that one's better. And they just have it in their mind of what you wanted to do, right? And she called into question. She goes, okay, well, what if you remove that and you gave the kid who's just going off of visual cues, right? So they're seeing this thing and they're trying to figure out, ooh, which one do I want? Which one is better, or which one are they the same? Will my choice be affected? So you can come out and you can cut two pieces of cake. Say they're both 100 grams. There's 100 grams of cake on one side and 100 grams of cake on the other side. You give it to the kid. The kid will probably choose either one because they're the same to him. But it doesn't matter to him. They're equivalent in his eyes, right? They are both the same and they are equivalent in the kid's eyes. It doesn't matter which one he picks. But say you were to remove 5 grams from one cake, right? So you have 95 grams of cake on one side and then you have 90 grams on the other side. Most likely, the kid will not notice the difference, and in his eyes, the two pieces of cake will be the same. They'll be equivalent. Sorry, I have to make sure I'm using the correct language. They will be equivalent in the kid's eyes. That both pieces of cake, it doesn't matter which one he picks, it's an equivalent trade. You know, he or she or they can pick this one or they can pick that one, right? Okay, so if we say that a 95-gram cake and a 100-gram cake are equivalent in kids' eyes, we can go one further. So if we get two new pieces of cake, and we give them a 90-gram piece of cake and a 95-gram piece of cake, and then asks the kid to pick which one, which one. Most likely, they'll say that it's equivalent to it. And you can go that way down the whole thing, right? 90-95, 85-90, 80-85, 75-80. And the kid will probably pick it won't make the difference between the two pieces of cake that you present to him. But if you show him a 75-gram cake and a 100-gram cake, all of a sudden the kid will now say, no, they're not the same. They're not the same. They're not equivalent. I want the 100-gram piece of cake. But according to math, logic, and laws, if we follow the transitive property and we say that A is B, A and B are equivalent, and B and C are equivalent, and C and D are equivalent, all the way down to Z, then A and Z should be equivalent. And so it doesn't work because this is a real life example, right? And that's kind of her main point, is that math doesn't always work real life example because math just doesn't function that way. Because the math as we know it is so locked in on this idea that, oh, everything has to be computational and it's all logical, that in terms of category theory, things can be there. The answers aren't necessarily always black and white. There aren't always, this one thing is going on and this is the only one right answer. Okay, so we finished that. We didn't open the other chest, so let's keep going and then we'll see how much it takes us to get back. And then we might actually be able to finish this black line, and that would be amazing. And so she kind of pokes fun of that. Just because things are equivalent doesn't mean they're the same thing. We can't say, oh, hey, just because there's this one thing doing, that's not how math, that's not how life works. And she kind of pointed out, math should be helpful for life. Life should be made easier through math and through the entire thing. If you don't know what we're talking about How to Bake Pie. It's a book by Eugenia Cheng. She's a British mathematician and concert pianist who's written books about, trying to explain math to the common public so that they can talk about it and, they can be less afraid of math and all of that. So that's her goal, that's her purpose. Not that sounds cosmic. This is what I've decided is her goal and her purpose, to explain math to the common man. No, she's a fantastic. She's very funny. She's a good author. I think she's British born. I think she taught in the United States for a while. She makes lots of references to England and everything else in her, like England and the British Isles in her books. So it's very common there, and some of the language too, or some of the humor is also very British. But I know, and you can find stuff on YouTube too of her. What is it? Like lecturing or other things. Ooh, let's throw this back there. Lecturing. It ain't the lecture no more. I'll lecture me blue in the face, I will. And not turn air. The monologue I'm working on for a class that I'm doing. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. How to Bake Pi by Eugenia Cheng. She's fantastic, very smart, very funny. And she's written this book about math and kind of oh, I should speak about another thing because I found, I think it was Veritasium. Yeah, Veritasium released a video basically explaining how to find the number of pi, right? Does everyone know what pi is? Pi is 3.14159, and that's only, I think, like 6 decimal places. But he talks about the history of that and how they used to compute pi versus how they compute pi now, and how it was really fast. If you're a big old math nerd, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, absolutely check it out. It is a great, fun video. I think Veritasium is one of the best channels. I think I hate making superlative. No, we lost 5. Okay, so I have to remember that we lost 5. Okay. Remind me when we get back that we lost 5 because of the creeper. I'm not gonna go pick up those just because it's gonna waste more time than I need to. Veritasium is one of the great science channels. Again, I just love watching creator content. I think there's some brilliant people. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Remind me that we lost 11. There's some great science channels here on the platform. If you're a fan of engineering and just fun contraptions, Mark Rober is a great engineer who creates robots and other things. There's a recent video he released about creating glitter bombs and trying to stop scam callers from scamming people out of thousands of dollars. Veritasium is more science-y, so it does less to explain what's going on and more to explain bigger concepts through more approachable things, but very much not there for. I mean, he's entertaining. It's just his brand is more. Did you blow up or did you just hit me? I think you just hit me. Oh, it was an Ender Bro. I didn't even look at you, Ender Bro. I don't know what that was. I don't know what hit me and what caused me to fall. I don't remember how many I lost. Was it 11? I think it was 11. It was 5 and then 6. Yes. Okay. So yeah, there's lots of good channels. Anyways, Veritasium released a video about how to calculate pi, and it's a really good explanation. Basically, the old way we used to calculate what pi was, and this is okay. So pi is used to calculate the area and circumference of a circle, right? That if you take the circumference is basically the perimeter. No! I don't know if that was 4 or 5. 15. Let's say 15. If we're 1 off, that'll be okay. 15. We really should light this up so we don't get these mobs, but that's so many torches that I don't want to make. That pi is used for calculating. Oh yeah. Knock me off, I dare you. Pi is used to calculate the circumference and the area. Ooh, what happened? Why are there so many mobs out? Okay, I am dying, slowly dying. No. I'm gonna stay safe. I do not want to die right now. This is an issue. Well, now there's gonna be golems running around here because I think it's a creeper blew up, and so he was. Oh man. Okay. Pi is used to calculate. Jump right back in. Pi is used to calculate the area and circumference of a circle. The area of a circle is pi r squared, and basically what you do is you would cut the circle into many small pieces, right? And you're gonna this is blocked, right? Okay, thank goodness. You're gonna cut the circle into many small pieces, like think a pizza. Think a pizza, and you're gonna cut that pizza into as many small slices as you can get, and then you're gonna stack them all together, like alternating. One pizza tooth down, one pizza tooth up, and then you're gonna and you're gonna make a little box out of it. And you'll notice that the top of the box is all the crusts, and all the crusts are equal to half of the radius. And so you got, you know, you got half the, or not half the radius, it's half the circumference, right? And then you've got the length, which is the radius. And then you're like, oh, okay, wait a second, I got it. It's, you know, radius times pi radius, and that equals pi radius squared, which is pi r squared. And that's how you get the area of a circle. And then the circumference is basically pi times diameter. So whatever that diameter is, you cut it, and I can't remember I don't remember how it goes. Not something I'm keen on, but it was really interesting how they calculated, how they used to calculate pi, right? So what they used to do is they would, and you do this a lot in like geometric proofs and everything. Like you can write out that things are between one value and another value. So for instance, you can, if you take a circle and then you draw a, I can't believe it blew up over there. I don't know how it blew up or why. I don't think creepers are supposed to, I don't know. I thought creepers didn't blow up on golems, but maybe I'm sorely mistaken. I don't know. I'm just crazy. One of the things, we might fix that. Yeah, we should probably fix it, just so that there's no issues in the future when people come back and they're like, oh wait, what happened to my thing? We don't need actually that much because I think we're like right back here. You can do like geometric proofs with it, right? And the geometric proof. Okay, so we got. Okay, so this was full, and then we took some out of that, right? So I think this one's full. No, almost. Okay, and there's the 16-ish. Yeah, there was 16, so we lost 16. So 16, so it's a box and 2, because this one was full, and we took some out of this. So it's a box and 2 stacks to finish that. So we actually have enough to do another 2 lines. So 1 box, 2 box, 3 box, 4 box, 5 box, 5.5 boxes, plus 10 stacks. It's doable. I mean, you don't want to watch me mine all the time, but that's pretty doable, actually. So we just need a box. Cool. Let's do it. Yes. What was I saying? Oh, how to calculate pi, right? What you can do with geometric proofs, you can draw a circle, right? You can draw a circle, and then you can draw other shapes that fit the circle, or like fit around the circle, and then that will basically give you the formula, or like give you an approximation of what the value of that, you know, of what that area is, right? So you can draw, if you draw a, what am I thinking? If you draw a hexagon within the circle, you know that a hexagon has to be a specific amount of, like area. There's a specific area that fits inside that hexagon, right? A hexagon is equal into certain parts, and then if you take the perimeter of the entire hexagon, especially like if it's a unit circle, so everything is equal to 1, the radius from the center point to the outside of the circle is 1, and you draw a hexagon that fits the same thing, then you can figure out the length. The perimeter of the hexagon, or the area of the hexagon, has to be, you know, whatever, 6 divided by 2, because that's the diameter of it, and then you can get that 6 over 2, which is 3. So we know that an entire area of the, you know, the entire area on the outside is 6 over 2, which is 3. And then you can take another hexagon and put it on the outside, and if it's slightly larger, then you know that the area of that, and you know how you partition it, is going to be 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So you know that the circle that fits between the inner hexagon and the outer hexagon is between 6 and 4, or between 3 and 4. So the length of the circle is somewhere between 3 and 4, right? This is assuming that pi, it's just pi r, right? Pi diameter. That's what you're trying to figure out. You're trying to figure out how to measure that. And so then, and the way that they used to do it is they would get more and more sided figures, right? So they'd start with a hexagon, and then they go to a dodecagon, which is 12 sides, and then you go up and up and up and up, and they basically try to section this into smaller and smaller sections until you could get closer and closer to the number, right? And so you could, I think there was somebody, the record before they figured out how to get the exact number was something like 2 to the 64th power of sides, and they got it down to like, you know, 52 different digits of pi, and they were like completely accurate, except for, again, the very last few digits. But that's kind of crazy to me. Like, that's how they used to do it. They would, you know, break it down further and further and further and further, and then they would be able to, you know, compute it and say, okay, this is actually what, you know, this is the irrational number of pi and how close it is. And I thought that was, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I was like, well, wait, so there was a different way to do it? Apparently there was, and it all comes down to the formula x plus 1 to the nth, right? X plus 1 to the nth power, or x plus 1, is it to the x? No, x, I can't remember what it is. And I can't, it's so hard to explain. I'm not a science guy. I'm a theater kid. I'm just here to tell you stories. It's a really good explanation if you want to see it. It's on Veritasium. I might throw a link up here because it's a really good video. But it basically, yeah, it breaks this entire math formula down about like the binomial theorem, and talks about how you get that and how you find that theorem and makes sense of it, right? The binomial theorem is usually used to find the coefficients of any formula given x plus 1 to the x, or x plus 1 to the nth power. So like, you know, what is x plus 1 squared? And then you can find that, and it's going to be x squared plus 2x plus x cubed. No, x squared. That's the second row of Pascal's triangle, so it should be just x squared plus... Yeah, no, x squared plus 2x plus x cubed. No? I don't know. I'm confused. No, it's just the first one, so it's x squared plus 1. Right, that's x... That's 1... Oh, now, see, now I'm concerned that I'm going to say the wrong thing, and I'm going to look like an idiot. Pascal's triangle, you subtract 1 from n, and then you use that row of Pascal's triangle. So x squared is the first row of Pascal's triangle, which is just 1 and 1. So it should be x squared plus 1. Or no, x squared. Let's do FOIL. X plus no, yeah, it is x squared plus 2x plus 1. There it is. That's the x squared plus 2x plus 1. That is x plus 1 squared. You use that formula for when you're trying to do that. That's, you know, that's Pascal's. If you don't know what Pascal's triangle, basically Pascal's triangle, here, I'll illustrate it over here. Pascal's triangle saying this is 1, and then you're gonna draw another line here, and this is gonna be 1 and 1, right? So you're taking and you're adding everything above you in a column, right? So this is row 0 of Pascal's triangle, and this is row 1 of Pascal's. This is the first row of Pascal's triangle. Then when you come down here to the third row, you're going to add this, which is 0, and 1, which gives you 1. Here in the middle, you're going to say, okay, I've got 1 plus 1, that's going to give me 2. And then over here, we have 0 plus 1, which gives us 1. Right, so then we're getting this pattern, and you can continue this pattern down and say, okay, well, over here we've got 0 plus 1, which is 1. Over here we've got 1 plus 2, which is 3. 1, 2, 3. Same thing over here, it's 3. 1, 2, 3. And then over here we've got 1 plus 0, which is 1. So you get, so the first row of Pascal's triangle is 1 and 1. Over here you've got 1, 2, 1. Over here you've got 1, 3, 3, 1. And then if you continue out, I think I have room for one more. Right, again, same thing. 0, 1 is 1, 1 and 3 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here you got 3 and 3, which is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1 over here, right? So the more we look at it, the more we keep going, we're gonna get this middle section is gonna get higher and higher in values, and on the outside is always gonna be 1. Actually, this would be a really fun build, to build something off of Pascal's triangle, because we find this in nature, and it's kind of. I'm gonna do that. I'm going to try to build something that's got this representative of Pascal's triangle. Anyways, this same formula, it's not actually just something that, you know, was discovered in Western civilizations. They actually found it in India and China as well. And even though they were using different symbols for numbers and, you know, the language wasn't universal, this is a universal mathematical concept. And what I was trying to explain of the term 1 plus x to the nth power, right? So 1 plus x to the first power, which is this, it's just going to be x plus 1, right? X to the first power plus x to the 0th power, which is just 1, right? Then we go over here, and this is x plus 1 squared. And x plus 1 squared is x squared plus 2, because there's 2 here, 2x plus plus 1 is equal to what that foils out to. And same thing, if you take x cubed is over here, x cubed plus 1, 2, 3, 3x squared plus 1, 2, 3, x plus 3x plus 1. So you're always going to get a plus 1 at the end, and you're always going to start with whatever term that you're working on. So if you're doing x cubed, the first one's always going to be just x cubed, because if you multiply x plus 1 out 3 times, that's what you get down to. So, I mean, this is just a general idea of what it means to be, like, what the Pascal's triangle means and how it works for math. But this binomial theorem is actually also something you can use. Oh, man, I really do not want to deal with all these mobs right now. I don't want to deal with the mobs. Okay, am I close to the village? Where am I at right now? I don't know. No, we'll just keep going. We'll just keep going and fight off anything that wants to attack us, like this guy. Get out of my way. So that's the binomial theorem, right? And that's how to use Pascal's triangle. And this is one of the things, I said I wasn't going to explain it because I didn't know how to explain it, and here I am explaining it because visually I think math in Minecraft is a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of really good math in Minecraft in terms of like fractals and pattern recognition and distribution theory. I think it's great. No! This is frustrating. This is why we don't build at night. Because of the mobs. So Pascal's triangle and the binomial theorem. That's used to calculate, you know, unknown variables for x to the whatever nth power. Now I just gotta constantly like turn over my back because I'm so worried that I'm gonna get blown up again. There we go. And basically, it was Newton who did it. Newton took Pascal's triangle, and the assumption when you do that, right? If you say 1 plus x to the nth, where n has to be a whole number, right? That's the assumption when you work with that formula. Get out of here. I'll need those bones later, because we're gonna work on getting that netherrack out and spread. Yeah. Goodbye. So that's what's working with Pascal's triangle, right? You have to assume that n has to be a positive integer. What does that mean? That means that you have to have, it has to be a whole number, and it has to be a positive whole number. That's integer. Integer just means whole number. And then it also means it has to be positive. So you can't use negative numbers in this thing, right? Because x plus 1 to the negative 1 power is something very different, and you can't use the same formula for that because it wouldn't work. It would break the formula. Well, what happened was basically Isaac Newton said, are we sure about this? Let me figure out what it is. Let's figure out if this is possible. Let me see if I can't break this. So he decided, and he started, you know, working out what it means to do x minus 1. And x plus 1 to the negative first power. And it comes out to an infinite series based off of the computation. If you plug it in and describe, if you rework the math backwards, you'll get to the same point of, oh wow, it's actually just it's a repeating, what's it called? It's a repeating decimal. It's a repeating God, what formula? It's a repeating formula until the end of time. It just continues in one direction, and all it does is if it's x plus 1 to the negative 1, it breaks down into, it switches integers between positive and negative the entire time. So it's x plus 1, x minus 1, x plus 1, minus 1, x plus 1, minus 1. So it just creates this infinite row of numbers. And if you look at that Pascal's triangle, it actually still works. You're saying that everything on the outside has to be a 0. And it will be a 0. Let's see if I can't figure this out. Yeah. Actually, I can. Ooh, yeah. I want to demonstrate this because this is actually really. I thought this was really cool. Let's grab some of this to illustrate my math point. You thought you were gonna watch a Minecraft Let's Play stream of me putting out blocks? No, I'm gonna teach you math. Okay, so if we assume, let's assume for a second, right here, right? This is the top of the pyramid, right? We got 1 and 1. We'll assume that these blocks mean 1, and these blocks mean 0. If there's nothing there, it's a 0, right? So if we assume that this is a 1, then we assume that this is a 0. But we had to have gotten to this 0 somehow, right? So if this is let's go back up here. If this is a 0, then this has to be a 1, right? Because it's 0 plus 1 is 1. But we need this one to remain 0. So what can we put here? Oh, well, we can put a negative 1, right? So now we've got 1 and negative 1, which equals 0, which checks out, and then 0 and 1, which equals 1. And again, so it fills out this entire row, but then it alternates, right? Because so let's continue down here. Is that the way I did it? No, this is the way I did it. There we go. If we continue down here, this is still also 1. So this has to be a 0. Well, we can say that this is a 0 because, why? Because this is a 0, and then this would also have to be a 0. But it's not a 0, because right now it's a negative 1, because this is a negative 1 right here. So you can go over here, and now this alternates to a positive term. So 1 minus 1 is 0, yes. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 and 0 is 0, and then 0 and 1 is 1. So this Pascal's triangle that we built earlier, right? So if this creates the numbers and they increase all the way down, right, this pyramid will get bigger and bigger as it goes that direction. Well, at the very top here, if this is x is 0, right? If this is x plus 1 to the 0th term, and this is x plus 1 to the negative 1 to the negative first term, right? Then we're gonna have a sequence over here that ends up repeating forever with this same pattern. That we're gonna have 1, negative 1, 1, negative 1, 1, negative 1, and it's gonna continue all the way forever because we constantly need an influx of zeros on this side for this triangle to work. That frickin' blew my mind. When I was like, well, I mean, that totally makes sense. There's nothing on this. Since this is an infinite sequence, it can also continue out further in this direction. This assumption, I don't remember. He didn't really touch on this side of the pyramid. But for this sequence, it's always a positive and negative all the way out in that direction. Isn't that crazy? I think that's pretty bonkers. That's how this thing works. That's how Pascal's triangle works, and that's how it functions. I was like, that's kind of crazy. I thought that was insane. But don't take my word for it. Go watch the video. So with the binomial theorem, right? So he proved that you could take the square root of a negative, or you can extend the binomial theorem to go out past the negative numbers. So you can do that. Yeah, I should have enough room in my inventory to do all this. Hooray! Okay, cool. And then we'll break you down and throw you into the correct box. So he proved that you could do negative numbers. And then he said, this is Newton, by the way, and Newton was like, well, wait a second. Let me see if I can't use non-whole numbers. So he started using fractions, right? And like x plus 1 to the 1/2. And then he was like, okay, let's do that. And he wrote it out, and it also functions. It also follows a pattern. Anytime that there's a pattern, it creates, it's very nice, very neat, and it just works. So he used that to continue and further discuss and find that, and he found out it's always like fractions, and these fractions fit in the Pascal triangle. I think if you take negative numbers higher, like higher negative numbers beyond -1, like -1 will create that 0 line that is very nice. Beyond that, in the higher version, it basically takes the pyramid and rotates it by whatever 90 or 60 degrees up. So that same the same pyramid that you'll go down, it just rotates it up, and you get this constant surge of numbers in the opposite direction. And then he uses that basically to prove that I don't remember how the proof goes for how to find the terms of pi. But he uses the form. Oh yes, that's what he does. He takes the formula of pi and basically draws a unit circle, breaks the unit circle down, and says, okay, I know I'm going to use calculus. I'm going to use calculus to calculate the area of the area underneath the circle. And I'm just going to do the top half because that makes sense, and then I'm going to multiply it by 2. Right? So he takes that top half, and he knows, okay, well, this is a curve, and we know that the formula for a circle is x squared plus y squared equals 1, because it's a unit circle. And then he integrates it all to one side, and then he says, okay, I'm going to integrate it as x approaches 1, from 0 to 1, as x approaches 1, and then I'm going to write the formula out, and I'm going to use all these binomial theorems I just discovered, or I just found out, to prove my point. And he gets it to a pretty good number, like a good distance away from what the actual pi is. And then he says, wait a second, no, I'm going to use the integration of just 1/2 of it. So I'm going to go as x approaches 1/2 for integration. And then that basically is, it's 30 degrees of the circle. So you have to find the area of that times a triangle with a base of 1/2 and a height of, I can't remember, like 2/3 or something like that. And he takes that area and he gets it, and it gets even closer to pi. And so you just have to take a smaller section of that and use calculus to integrate it, and then you get pi to literally however many places you want to. And that was how, that's how pi was discovered recently. That's the formula, that's technically the formula we use now to get accurate predictions of the digits of pi. And I thought that fit well. I didn't see the video until after Pi Day, so I'm tacking it on to now, even though we've had St. Patrick's Day in between all of this, and it's the beginning of spring. So that's a little lesson about how how you find pi and the math behind it. I honestly think that the Pascal's triangle would be a lot of fun to create, like especially in Minecraft where you can get to crazy ridiculous numbers. I think that'd be quite interesting, especially if you like blow it up in proportions and say like every single block. Yeah, you could totally do it in blocks. It wouldn't because it's it's not exponential. It's logarithmic, not logarithmic. It adds up. But I think that'd be interesting to do that in here, to just show the representation of Pascal's triangle. And then we could also work in the other half of it where it would be negative. And then we could create that. Yeah, well, okay. Well, that'll be an idea for another day. I also put on here about axioms and generalizations, just because I've noticed more and more things. This is one of my this is something that is mathematical, but that we don't think about because it's not in a clean, defined box of what it means to be mathematical, right? Mathematical. I don't think that's the right word for it, but that's the word I'm gonna use. It's not logical. It's not following the laws and the physics of math, right? Or it doesn't fit neatly into the box of, oh hey, yeah, that's totally math. What it boils down to, right, is we talked about it a little bit last week, and I've thought about some other examples of kind of math in the real world that we don't think about as being math. She talks a lot about Eugenia Cheng, writer of How to Bake Pie. Talks a lot about generalizations and abstractions, right? Those are two logic logic-derived functions that talk about, you know, how to view the world. And we talked a little bit about it last week. We talked about it last week about what does it mean? What does it mean to abstract something, and what does it mean to generalize something? And abstraction basically is taking something and converting it into another form that makes sense to you, right? So taking a word problem that you read on a math exam and converting it to a simple mathematical formula. That is abstraction. You're taking a look at it and you're saying, okay, I get what this is. This is very easy to follow. You know, I drive for 10 hours but I forget to look at my speedometer, so I don't know how fast I'm going. But I get to the city, which is 120 miles away, in a course of 2 hours. How fast was I going, on average, how fast was I going in order to get to, you know, the city that's 120 miles away in 2 hours? And that's just 60 miles an hour. That's, you know, but I said I was traveling for 10 hours. So that's, well, yeah, ignore that. But that's abstraction. It's taking something that you hear and then converting it to something concrete in your mind. You're like, okay, I know how to deal with that, right? It's the same thing of, like programming. Programming does the same thing. You have a task and you have to break it down into its most simplest forms, right? This is actually really good. This is my biggest reason for why I love playing Minecraft, and I love this because it's a sandbox world. Is taking a problem and then breaking it down into its essentials. If you oh wow, I came out on the other side usually. If you think about a problem as a set of things that you have to accomplish, then programming and doing that is just simplifying it into its most simple forms. So you're saying, okay, I need to make a sugarcane farm, but I know, and so then you need to figure out, okay, I need to grow this, and I need to collect it, and then I need to keep it in a specific box, right? A specific box that I'm going to designate. This is where I'm going to put all my sugarcane. So I need to figure out how to grow it, how to harvest it, how to collect it, and how to store it. So you've now written out and you've abstracted this idea into 4 separate boxes. And so now you can actually start making sense of it. Because before you had a kind of an unsolvable problem in your life. You were like, okay, I know I need to do this, but I don't know how to do it. And then if you give up there, it won't make sense. That's it. You're not able to do anything else because you're not taking that extra step and abstracting it and converting it to manageable sizes, right? We also call that prioritizing, or okay, I don't think of it. I'm trying to think. I have a specific word in mind that I can't think of, but like breaking things down into their essentials. And delegation, right? Delegating tasks. You think about that, right? If somebody's gonna build a castle, and you have all these people that are gonna help you build the castle, and you're like, okay, you don't want every single person who's gonna help you build this castle to be working on like the gate, because then you're gonna get the gate done quickly, but then you guys are constantly gonna be switching tasks, and it's not gonna be the most efficient use of time. So you say, okay, we need to build a castle. We have a gate. We have we need to build the moat. We need to build the tower. We need to build the actual structure in the center. We want houses all around it. You can, however complicated you want to get, but then you basically delegate those tasks and say, okay, you're in charge of the gate. You're in charge of that. Or it's like, oh, you know what? First of all, we should probably build the wall. Let's build the wall so we know how much room we have to work with, and then from there you'll build the gate inside of that, and you'll do this thing inside of that, right? That's delegation. It's a form of abstraction. You're taking this massive thing and you're figuring out how to make it function through a very specific process. That's why you take word problems and you write them into a formula, and then that formula actually makes it easier because you're taking something that you're not understanding and converting it to something very simple and very manageable. You're like, oh, I know how to do math. I've done math before, right? That's the whole reason that's the reason you write word problems out, is so you can get the form down. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I know how to add, I know how to subtract, I know how to do basic arithmetics. This is easy for me now. I just needed to use that brain power to convert it. That's abstraction, right? Generalization is the more fun, and people do more of this than they realize, right? Abstraction's kind of hard in terms of our day-to-day lives. It's not something that we're going to be able to get that we're going to get to do all the time. Some people are better at it, you know. I like I make to-do lists. To-do lists are a form of abstraction. And I will create a to-do list and I'll try to write like dates on the side of them, or like, you know, put high priority by some of them, and then I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. This thing called life I've now abstracted into simple, easy tasks, and I know how to do that task. As opposed to sitting there like, I don't know what to do. There's so much you need to do and I don't know how to do it, right? That's abstraction. Generalization is way more fun. My favorite example that I've seen on the internet, a lot of the time, I talk and then I forget that I'm still also doing this task. It's hard. It's, you know, it's a struggle, but we're getting through it. It's gonna be okay. Generalization. You may be familiar with it. It's describe a movie badly, or describe a movie in no more than 2 sentences. You know? And there are some hilarious things that can come as a result of this, because you've generalized the movie, you've stripped out all the details, and you've gotten down to something very specific. Or not something specific, something very vague. So like a father's son gets kidnapped, and the father goes on a quest to return his son home. What is that movie? Name that movie. That movie, for those of you who don't, and that could be, again, like, I love it because when you make it more, there's some great ones. I'm trying to remember. I'd have to pull up like some of the meme pages or some of the joke pages I follow. But there's some really fun. There's some funny, like, describe a movie in 1 sentence, right? And describe a movie terribly. And this is a better thing. A father loses a son and then goes on a journey to find him. I think there's quite a few movies that could fit into that category. I was describing Finding Nemo, because that's what Finding Nemo is. A father loses a son and then goes on a quest to find him. But you could also describe that movie as a young, you can describe it as a child and a schizophrenic explore the ocean. You could have, or I don't think she's schizophrenic. I think she has DID, or multiple personality disorder. Dissociative identity, yeah, DID, dissociative identity disorder, because she, you know, or short-term memory loss. She talks about it. She has short-term memory loss, not DID. And so you can describe Finding Nemo in exactly that way. You can say, oh, a child teams up with a person with short-term memory loss and explores the ocean. That's not what the movie's about at all. Or you can even generalize it down even further. A child gets lost. And that can be the explanation. A child gets lost. Or a child gets kidnapped. Oh no, it's the dad that goes with Dory. Yeah, I don't remember Finding Nemo anymore. It's been so long. You could also describe it as fish doesn't like aquariums. Fish doesn't want to be in an aquarium. You know, like you've generalized this thing down, and it has function in math. It does have function. There's a reason that we do it. There's also a reason why it's amusing, but it's not necessarily the best. We don't think about it, but it is technically math, and there's other ways of doing it, and it's the primary function of it, right? So it's fun for jokes. It's great. It's hilarious. It's super. It's retweetable. You throw it out there. Oh, look at this. We've described this movie very badly in like 2 words, and it's hilarious. But for its functionality, generalization actually helps you figure out some problems that you didn't need, like that you can kind of. It's problems that make it easier to solve other things, right? So, for instance, if you, I think it works better in terms of programming and other things, because you're generalizing something and you're trying to make it, it's like a not a hard gate. It's a way to spot check your stuff, right? And that's why most of the time when you run a debug command on a programming computer, or like when you're developing a program and you're running a debug program, that's what it does. It basically isolates, and you can generalize it. So in the same example, right, if you're trying to grow sugarcane, you want to grow it, and you can generalize it into its 4 basic steps. You can abstract it, which gives you the process, or you can generalize and say, okay, well, it doesn't need to be 4 steps. I just need to grow and collect it. Like, right, you can generalize that. Or you can go even further and say, okay, I just need it to grow. And then you can generalize, so you can go the opposite direction. Abstraction is not necessarily down. Generalization goes up in terms of the levels of specificity that it is. If you're familiar with calculus does the same thing. It's like deriving. If you were to derive a formula, you would move all the powers up 1, and then you would solve for x as it approaches whatever value that it's given. Right? You take or that's the antiderivative, or I can't remember what it is now. It's been forever since I've been in calculus. But like, and this is one of my favorite concepts in calculus. If you take, calculus is like, if you derive something, you're taking whatever the formula is, and you're putting it in terms of the slopes at any given point. A parabola is a U-shaped, so we're going to use some more Minecraft to describe this. A parabola is a U-shape, kind of, again, this is not perfect. 1, 2, 3. Let's do that, because I think that's more of a parabola than the other thing I just did. That's 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. Right, so this is the curve, right? This is a parabola in mathematics. And so basically what calculus does, like this is x squared plus 2x plus 1, right? This is that curve, right? And so what calculus does when you derive something, you take the slope at any given point. So here the slope is 3. Here the slope is 2. Here the slope is 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? That makes sense. You can see based on the values. I can't draw, curved lines, but that's what it is. Slope here is 3, slope here is 2, slope here is 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And they're all positive. Or no, this is negative, right? So if we're coming down this way, we're going down 3, then we're going down 2, then we're going down 1, then we're not going anywhere. Then we go up 1, up 2, up 3. Well, if you take this and you were to write out the slope, so at this point the slope is -3. So we go here, we'll call this -3. Slope here is negative. Ooh, spider. Are you upset because I'm doing calculus? You shut up. So the slope here is -3. The slope here is -2. Slope here is -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So now we've actually described this line on this, right? So this is the line here, and we've described it all the slopes here, and we've plotted them out and we've graphed them. So the slope here is -3, and it's created a vertical line. Okay, move. And now we're gonna do the same thing again. And we're gonna say, okay, hey, what is the slope at this one? Well, it's a positive 1, and this one's also a positive 1, and this one's also a positive 1, positive 1, positive 1, positive 1. I was like, okay, cool. So now we know that this is positive 1, and if we say that this is positive 1, then the slope of this, the derivative of this line, is just this. It's a straight line, and here it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So then we come down here, and we'll say that this is 0. And this is going to be 0. And then this, from here on out, is always going to repeat over and over and over, right? So we've got this thing, and you can see how this becomes, you can work it forwards or backwards, right? So this is the 0 line. This is a 1 line. And then to expand this from a flat line, it goes to a sloped line. From a sloped line, it goes to a curve. Right? Because you're expanding it, in this instance, you're expanding it backwards. And this one actually becomes, so this is a negative value, and then it transitions to a positive value. This actually is the function of oh man, I'm gonna have to remember how to draw that. I don't think I can remember what's the, let me think about this. If x is cubed, x cubed, 0 is 0, -1 cubed is -1. -2 cubed is 4 -8. Yeah, I can't remember how to do this. I think it. Oh, it just flips the tail up, and so it comes up this way. Right, because this is the. Yeah, that's x cubed, and if you take the slopes of that, it also equals this thing here, right? So that's derivatives, right? You're taking something and you're simplifying it. You're either making it more vague to describe it, or you're making it more complicated to describe, right? So you've got the lines. Think of this. Think of going this way as abstraction, that we make it more easy. Well, not abstraction. This is different. So if we're going towards this direction, we're generalizing. We're saying that this is basically a line in terms of slopes, and this line is basically a flat line, and then you can move down further and further. And that can be done the same way, you know, describing movies, or believe it or not, we also use this in English too. When you use like an essay, right? If you have to write not a comprehensive essay, but what's it called? Like a reflection essay. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I learned about, in this paper, I'm gonna write about this book, and then you have to generalize or summarize the book and say, okay, this book is about World War II, and it's about the battles fought in World War II and what's going on in World War II. And so you've now generalized the book into 2 pages, even though it's, and then there's better ways of doing it, and there's worse ways of doing that. But mathematically, there's no wrong way of doing it. You're still just describing what you saw in the book, and you've generalized it down to its simplest form, right? So that's another example of where we use math in real life and the idea of generalizations. The other thing that was on the description, hello, ooh, they're cold. They're frozen villagers. The other thing that they talk about in the book is a thing called axioms. And axioms is just a fancy way of saying rules. Oh, and I'm out of that. Okay, well, let's fly back, and then we'll start working on the other project, and then I'll prep this again, and then we'll do that. And I might actually finish this on my own, because it's not too hard, and then we'll have a complete line done. And then we can put torches next time, even though torches are way more demanding in terms of placement and things. Ooh, spider. Axioms are basically just rules, and they're rules that help define sets or other things that happen in a specific given math function, right? Like the whole, like when we were talking about the binomial theorem, right? We're talking about, oh, hey, we're describing this function, and we're saying that x cannot be a negative number because otherwise it wouldn't work. And we say that because it's a, repeating thing, and you don't want to overload the process because you'll never actually be able to find the end of this series. It's not a complete series. It's not a complete set, right? So if you have it's 1 and -1, 1, -1, 1, -1, that's going to repeat forever, and it's never going to repeat, or it's never going to end. So that's why we say you can't do it, because otherwise you'd be stuck there. If you were computing this like as a computer, you'd never be able to reach the end of whatever that list is, because you'll be constantly crunching numbers, and you'll be constantly going forward. And so that's why we have that rule, so that we don't ever run into that problem, so that when we write programs, it doesn't say, oh, I'm still working on it, because it is still working on it. It's just taking forever for it to do, right? And so that's the general rule for why that happens. And the question is, if that's the rule, they're there to define a set, but the rules can be broken just because they're, again, math rules. Let's specify. Math rules can be broken. Just because it says something as an axiom, as a given for a system, doesn't mean it always has to be that case, because as we saw, someone could break that rule and find out a completely new discovery of, oh, hey, if we actually broke this rule, we could find out something different. And I think that translates really well to our lives and what we do in our lives, is that there are and I think this is more to do with traditions more so than rules. There are certain rules that are in place to protect society as a whole, right? That we have a rule that you're not supposed to go out and murder people, because that would endanger the lives of people around us, right? And I think we can all accept that that's a pretty good rule, because I don't want to get murdered. But there are certain other points of like traditions, and this is kind of where we get into not trouble, but where we get hard things, and it's hard to defend, hard to describe, I guess. Traditions in like more bureaucratic systems or other things that are going on. It gets hard because the excuse is, well, that's the rule, that's the way we've always done it. And that can be a bit of a stale mindset of like, oh, well, that's just because that's the way it's always been done doesn't mean that that's always the way it's got to be done. There's you can point out and say, well, just because you can break rules and you'll actually learn more from breaking rules and trying to do things out of the box than you will always living in that one box. Which also brings me to an interesting another interesting point, right? Just because we try to do something a different way doesn't mean, if we try to do something a different way and there is no result, that's not actually bad. And especially in the terms of like the scientific method and the idea of trying to understand and trying to get data points. Another great channel, Minute Physics. I think it was Minute Physics that talked about it. Or Minute Earth, one of the two. They're run by the same group of people, and they're all great. But it talks about why nothing matters in science, which is a catchy, title of like, haha, nothing matters in science. I knew it. But it talks about why nothing matters in science, and it's meant what they're actually saying is why null results or nothing results, why those matter in science, and that's the idea that you do an experiment and you test it out and you get your results and you don't get any conclusive evidence. Like, for instance, their example was if they were to draw their animated stick figures with like 30% larger heads, that they would be getting 30% more likes on their video because they had drew their stick figure heads larger. It's a crazy hypothesis. It's not actually true. You would think there's no logic to that. There's nothing that you learn from that. And that result, that null result, that, oh hey, we didn't actually achieve what we wanted to achieve, we didn't learn anything. But you did. And that's kind of the interesting thing about science, is that even null results can still be helpful. So just because you didn't get the result you were looking for doesn't mean that you didn't make progress. Because they were working on, like, for instance, they're trying to find dark matter. We're trying to find dark matter in space. And we're trying to figure out where it is, how big it is, what kind of substance is it, what size is it, how does it function? And right now we can't even find it. We know it exists because of the other things. Because there's places where something should be, but it isn't, because there's nothing there. And they're like, well, there's got to be something that's creating that nothing, or there's something that fills in that void. And one of the fascinating things is that they've built a machine that basically can detect a specific size particle, and they'll set the machine to one size, and then they'll start searching for a particle, and then they'll continue going and going and going and going and going with that, and then they stop and they find no results. And it's like, oh, wait a second, we must have, oh, well, and they don't give up, because even though they didn't find anything, they know now that the particle that they're looking for isn't that size, it's a different size. And so then they need to do calculations, they recalibrate their machine, they set it to a different size particle, and then they run the test again. And then they'll go and go and go, and then boop, it didn't find it. It's not that. Well, then now they can cross out that size. And while that does feel kind of like Battleship, a little bit. I think Battleship's got a little bit more strategy to it, just a little bit, but it's the same general principle. You know that there is a ship on your other. For those of you who don't know Battleship is a good game. Let's describe how Battleship works. You and your opponent, you have ships. You have 5 different ships of they're not all different sizes. I think there's 2 ships that are the same size and 3 ships that are uniquely sized to themselves. And the goal of the game is that you are trying to sink your opponent's ships by calling out random spaces on the board. And you go through and then you try to find where they are, and then as soon as you find it, like, aha, got it. Now there are typically different strategies for Battleship, okay? Most of the time, people will either be random or systematic in their approach. The typical way that we played Battleship, we would, or in mi familia, when we played Battleship, this is what we did. We would always put it not on the diagonal, because the board is, I think, a perfect square, almost, basically, a perfect square. We're getting closer and closer every time. It's like 1 away, and now it's 2 away. But Battleship is, you place your ships, they're all different sizes. I think the longest one is 5 and the shortest one is 2. And then I think there's a 4 and 2 3s. Yeah, 2 3s, a 4, a 5, and a 2. Yeah, that's the size of the ships. And so you're hiding them on your board, and then you're basically getting called, like, when they're going to call a space, and if it hits, great, it hits. If it doesn't hit, then it misses. As those things work, if you don't hit, you miss, and if you don't miss, then you hit. I'm so silly. But there's a strategy to it that if you're trying to find your opponent's ships, you can do it systematically, right? You can draw an X with your calls, like start on A1 and then go to B2 and then C3, and then you can like work down in a diagonal, right? So if this is the board, let me demonstrate. So if this is the entire board, you're gonna go down and you're gonna call it out like this way, and then you're gonna go down, you're gonna go the other way, and you're gonna call it out like that. Dun 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 dun. Okay, then you yeah, well, this is supposed to be there. So you've called it out. Okay, great. You've got that. Okay. Is this off? Did I do this off? Oh, no. It's just... Oh, yeah. Okay. I was like, what's going on? No, this one is off. This one should be right there. Shouldn't it? No? I'm confused now. I think something's off here. Wait a second. Sorry, this is emergency mode. Yes, it's supposed to be right here. I was like, what in the world's going on? There we go. Because now we can go bump, bum. It's supposed to be in line with the other one. Yes, okay, thank you. Whew. I'm gonna have to check that. It'll mess up all my math. Yes, and then this one goes all the way across because, yep. Okay, perfect. So you do that, right? You call out this one, you go here, and then if their ship is here, you're like, aha, I've hit you, and then you'll go here, and then, there's ships hiding over here and over here, and so then what we usually like to do is, we'll just draw another, extension that way so that there's, you're eliminating the big ships, and then once you found them, you found them, right? But that game has a lot more, strategy into it. Okay, cool. I thought it was gonna drop. For instance, what we would do is we would there's different methods because you have to think about your player, right? If you're playing against somebody, you have to think about, okay, am I gonna evenly space them out, or am I gonna clump all my ships together? I think there's a rule. I think in the rule in the game, ships have to have at least one channel of water between them. Like they can't be sitting right next to each other. Yeah, I believe that's the general rule in the actual board game. Ooh, yep, we're gonna fall. 1, 2, 3. Oh, now we have one extra. I don't know what's going on. This is not equal stacking. And now it's getting nighttime. But that's generally how Battleship works, right? You have to call out, you have to place your stuff, and every result that you hit is technically a data point for you when you're collecting evidence. You're like, oh, okay, you're seeing this. Oh, okay, well, I know their ship at least is not there. So I know I don't need to worry about that spot ever again. And that's the same thing when you do the X thing, and like say you've drowned their littlest boat. Well, now after you've done that, you can now, and even though you're missing, you've now at least hit one point. You're like, okay, I haven't beaten the game yet. I haven't found all the information I need, but now I know that I don't need to search for the smallest boat. Now I know that I can, readjust my criteria and say, okay, their littlest boat is gone. I now need to be looking for the a section anywhere 3 or larger. And the same thing can be said about, the opposite way. So if you sink their 5 lawn boat, you're like, aha, gotcha. All right, so now I know I need to be worried about spaces shorter than 5. And now I need to be, keeping an eye on that and making sure that that's up to snuff. Sorry, I had to check something. I had to check something on my phone. So even though information is not necessarily readily available, or you feel like you didn't get the answer that you're looking for because you just didn't, it wasn't what you were expecting, or you didn't have something that you thought you should have had, a null result is still information that you learned, and you know not to do something that way. And that's kind of, I find that to be a little, uplifting and philosophical a bit, that you understand that you don't have to worry about it because you'll learn from the future, and you won't be stuck on you won't be stuck with that same result. You can learn and say, hey, just because it didn't work out doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means that I know that I shouldn't do that, or I don't have to do something like that anymore. I can, move on and do something different. I don't know. I find that to be encouraging just because there's so much time, so many times, I don't know what the right word is. Often in our lives, we'll be faced with this idea that you may not fail, that failure is defeat. And it's not, because, science teaches us that failure is not defeat. Failure is just like a null result. A null result isn't failure. It's just information. And information is powerful, and we just move forward in life with information. And now we know more of the things that we need to do or don't need to do. And that's really encouraging. I don't know. I find that to be really good. Yeah. There's a lot of things, especially if you critically think about math. If you think about it more in terms of the principles, and this is really why I like this book, because so many times we think of math and we think of it in a very specific, oh hey, it's just pure computation. There's nothing else about it. It's all about doing the thing and making sure that you have all the right answers. And it's really nice and encouraging to, okay, yeah, I'll see the end. So it's this one and then the next one. It's really encouraging to say, hey, it's not about the right answers, it's about the discovery process, or it's not about getting all the accurate information and data that you need. It's sometimes about just getting the answers and doing the research and doing the stuff. And same thing in life. We talk, you can, what is it? You can talk about trying to be the perfect, influencer. I've seen a lot of this stuff on like TikToks and everything else of like, people striving for perfection, striving to be like, oh, I can do no wrong. I can do no evil. And I think that's sometimes where we kind of fall into a trap. We trap ourselves when we do this. That you don't have to be perfect, and it's okay to make mistakes. And I think sometimes we get, and this isn't 100% accurate, but sometimes you make mistakes and you fall off things. It's okay to make mistakes, and nobody's gonna hold you to be perfect. And if they are holding you to that, then that's not necessarily 100% accurate. I've lost all of you. I stopped talking about math and switched to talking about life, and this is now destroyed the stream. Oh no, come back. Oh no. Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't talk about life. I'll just keep talking about math and mathematics. Okay, got it. Roger Dodger. Oh man. Man, apparently getting preachy is not what people want to hear. Okay. Yeah, alright. Well, I mean, I can nerd out more about math if you want. Oh, man. Yeah, I lost everyone. Literally, as soon as I started talking about that, that is all gone. And people were way more interested about that. Okay. Alright. Awesome. Well, then, yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. And now we'll switch swiftly over back to math, since that's the name of the video, and you guys don't want to hear about the things in life, so that's okay. I don't really know. Again, I think, yeah, no, see, this is something that I would just fundamentally disagree with. Just even within myself. Because I can't, I mean, that's the whole point of the book. The whole point of the book that she writes is, you know, talking about classifying math through math, and not necessarily viewing this as one particular subject, of not trapping yourself in a box. That's the whole point, and I think that's, this is now, yeah, this has gotten under my skin. This has gotten really under my skin, and I want to talk about this. Blending boxes and being able to relate one thing to the other, I think, should be the point of college education and critical thinking. It shouldn't be about organizing thoughts and keeping one thing to another, right? Just because, I mean, and that's the whole theory of categorization of math that's in the book. She talks about it, is that there are so many rules and there's so many things that are so set in stone, and that you're watching it and you're saying, oh, okay, this must be done this way because this is the way it's always been done. You can think of it in grander terms, and you can actually learn something different if you were to relate one concept to another, right? We talk about, like for instance in philosophy, we talk about karma and the idea of karma, and a lot of people think, well, the perceptions of karma that I've seen have been very skewed the other way. That you say, oh, if you do something good will happen, or if you do something bad will happen, and that's not the actual point of karma. The point of karma, as it's supposed to be originally understood, is saying that if you do something good, you are okay with living in a world where good things happen. And if you do something bad, then you are saying to the universe, I am okay with in a world where bad things happen. And so that idea of this philosophy and this idea of, hey, you know, what is karma? What does that mean? You know, you're not promising anything. It's not a one-to-one ratio. So just because, you know, you yell at somebody doesn't mean that somebody's going to yell at you. What you're saying is, if I yell at somebody, I'm okay with people being yelled at in this world because my behavior justifies it, because I did it, and so therefore it's okay for everyone else to do it as well. Because I wouldn't do it if I weren't okay with it. And if I wanted the world to change, I would be, you know, doing something different. And that is so much more powerful and actually a livable concept than to say, oh, hey, that's karma. It's just karma. Because that implies a sort of like that you deserved something. You deserved something that came to you. And that's not necessarily true. Just because something bad happened to you doesn't mean that you deserved it. It just means that it was because again, through the thing of karma, it's the idea that if you live a lifestyle, and if everyone lived the same lifestyle, then if everyone did only good things, then they're okay with a good world, and you'd create a better world. Than if you were to say, oh, I'm gonna, if I can occasionally lie, then you're okay in a world where people occasionally lie because you did it, and so your behavior justifies itself. Not in a positive light. It's not like it's okay to do this completely. It's just saying that your behavior is justifying your actions. Your actions. That's not the. How do I hope you understand what I mean. That the behavior is justifying this world because you've done it, so you believe in it. And I don't know. I think the whole point of this math and this math book is to say, hey, the way we think about things can be refreshed. We don't have to follow these axioms and these rules. We can view it in our own light, and we can make our own discoveries. And that's my soapbox for that. Because I don't know, math is cool. It's great. I think it's very useful, and I think too, people often forget there's a concept of it. And we kind of talked about it last week too. That she describes that math and logic, that we are not humans are creatures of logic, yes, but we shouldn't make our society completely dependent on logic, because logic taken to its full capacity doesn't make sense. And there's no way we could function on things that are 100% logical. We should also function off of things that are a bit illogical. Make it illogical and be able to make rash decisions and kind of follow our heart, follow our dreams. This is coming from a person. Let me tell you. I often get called illogical because I'm pursuing a theater degree. And I've been told that a theater degree will not make me money, so I better have a backup plan because that's the logical thing to do, and I shouldn't totally devote my... Did that skeleton just push the other skeleton off? I think he did. That was very rude of you, skeleton. Yes, so I've been told that I am illogical because I'm pursuing something that doesn't make sense, because if I really wanted to make money, that I should do that thing. And while I would agree that yes, it's not 100, I think they're trying to say practical, but they're saying logical to me. And that's where the problem comes, is when they say practical. It's like, or when they say logical. I'm like, no, it's like following the logic, I can still do this and it will still work. Oh, we got Mob Central over here. And they're gonna come at me, and they're gonna try to destroy all my hard work. And they were successful. They were just successful in destroying all my hard work. Look at the netherrack is very clearly very explosive. In case you're trying to build with it, if it explodes, it will create giant holes. Shoots. Okay, well, we'll go fix that up. Yes, I've been told I'm illogical for trying to pursue a degree in art, and this is actually something that I'm working on. I'm working for speech for graduation, and I'm gonna record it and submit it, hopefully to get accepted and be able to tell the speech at graduation. But that's one of the things is, a lot of artists have been told all growing up or all through their lives, they've basically been told, hey, the thing that you're doing doesn't have value. It's not important. It's a nice fantasy to live out. And if you're going to do it, then you better have a very generous benefactor who's going to give you everything you want and basically take care of you, because otherwise you'll never be able to make it. Right? That's a thing that we as artists have heard all the time. Or like, oh, hey, that's cute, that's cool. How do you make money? What's your real job like? That's something that we just have to deal with, because as artists, it's hard. It's hard to survive in that world and make that happen. But one of my favorite things about all of that is that through this pandemic, we've actually seen so much about how much art we consume and how much people are dependent on entertainment through this entire thing, right? We see people, you know, either playing games or streaming movies. Like the whole WandaVision thing blew up and people really were on board and talking about it and trying to theorize about like, ooh, what's gonna happen next, or oh, this is so cool, this is Disney, or again, and those are all technically artist jobs. I'm on a soapbox today. What is up with me? I am just continually talking about hot button topics because time's too short to just sit there and be like, no, let's talk about. And not like the other things are bad. I'm just saying. Oh man, that's gonna be mob central down there. I don't know. It's just been on the mind recently because, you know, as the semester closes, as we get closer and closer to graduation, there's more and more of these thoughts of like, you know, is my time worth it? Is what I'm doing actually worth what I'm doing? Or is it better to, you know, switch careers or switch, you know, focuses and do something completely different? Because it can be challenging. It can be really challenging to keep at it, you know, day in, day out and do something that people keep telling you is illogical and impractical. It's not bad. It's kind of like that, I don't know, I like to view it as that null test, right? Even though you may get a non-answer and be like, oh, hey, looks like the results weren't there. You know, it was just something. At least, you know, you had fun and you did something that you wanted to do. And that's, you know, and that's not 100% what it boils down to, is just to have fun, but you should be pursuing something that you want to pursue, right? You know, that's the reason why I do these live streams and read these books, because I want to read them. I want to be able to, you know, talk to you and connect with you guys about books, or about whatever's going on in life, or show you the thing that I'm doing in Minecraft, or have, you know, 2 hours of peace where I can just run my mouth and talk about whatever. That's the goal of this thing. And it's not necessarily to sell myself as interesting, or to sell, because, you know, it's taken a while to accept it, but that's one of the biggest things of the life stuff, is that you gotta be cool with you. You gotta be cool with who you are and what you do. It is about that. It's about, you know, you can change absolutely, but you're pretty cool just the way you are. Like legit. Like is there more things that you could learn? Absolutely. Is there other stuff that is interesting? Absolutely. But you know, you shouldn't feel like you have to put on a face and do something specific to please people around you, you know, because that's exhausting. That's so tiring. It's one of the other theories that you can do things like, we'll relate it back to math since we're talking about math and we're studying a book, which is an example actually from my personal life. So I didn't really pay attention in geometry. I did pay attention in geometry, but the teacher I took geometry with had a policy in their class where if you scored a test on the A, like if you scored a test on the A, if you scored an A on the test, you didn't have to do that week's homework, right? So you could just, if you got an A on the test, then the next unit you would not have to turn in the homework. And then if you got an A on the following test, like that was just the condition. So everyone had to turn in whatever the first unit's homework, but then after that, if you got an A, you didn't have to do the homework for the next class. Which is this is an interesting theory. I think it's a little bit backwards, but kind of not. Like I would almost rather it be the other way, that if you get an A on all your homework, you don't have to take the test, because that shows that you're actively participating every single class, as opposed to the other way. If you only require them to get A's on tests and not do their homework, that's, I think, a little bit backwards. But then again, especially since if you don't do the homework and then you get a bad grade on that test, it's not like you're going back to that unit to review it again. You're going on to a new unit, and maybe this unit is actually something that they're more that they're more understanding of. So that was always weird to me. I think it should be the opposite way right around, but it was that way, right? So you would do the tests, and then you would do the homework, and then if you passed the test, you would not have to do the next unit's homework, right? Well, in geometry, I did that, and I paid attention to the first unit, which was all about triangles and the different proofs and theorems related to triangles, and how useful it is to know the triangles and all the laws related to triangles. Well, I stopped paying attention in class because I got an A on the test. So I was like, I don't need to pay attention. I don't have to turn any of the homework in. I'll just pay attention a little bit during class, but I'll do other homework or other things because I don't have to turn anything in, and everyone else does. And there would be moments where I would do other things and not learn the theorem that we were learning that week. So I would have to figure out a way to solve problems using specifically only the things that I had learned in the first chapter about triangles. So I found very creative solutions as to how to prove circle stuff, square stuff with triangles of like, okay, well, I'm gonna draw this line and that creates a triangle, and then that triangle, and then using this proves I can prove what you're asking me. And the teacher eventually, pulled me aside and was like, hey man, you don't have to, you know that there's an easier theorem. And I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, okay, because like I liked your solution. It was creative and you did the thing, but you could have simplified these 3 steps because this theorem that we learned in class this week actually would have helped you. And I was like, well, I'll use it next time. And he was like, okay, I really think you should be paying more attention in class, but you got an A on the test, so I can't necessarily prove you wrong. But you pay more attention, please. And I was like, yes, sir. So, where was that going? I can't remember where that was going. It was about something about thinking outside the box, using things and stuff. And God, what was it? There was some deep connection that I was thinking of finding creative. I don't know. I don't remember. There's a fun story about geometry that I learned. That sometimes it's okay to take the long way around. I don't know. I actually like geometry a lot. That was one of my favorite subjects while I was doing math, was doing the geometries. Just because it's also, I think it's a very visual art. Like, computations are great, and I like computations, but and I kind of have to agree with Eugenia in her book. She talks about it. She talks about how for her the fun of math stops once you have to compute and you have to do the computational math, which is I kind of agree with her on that. That it becomes less fun to do it by computing. Like, it's fun to I'd rather figure out the formula and be like, oh, okay, hey, is this the right thing? And you can kind of do that, and they do that when they give you a really weird shape, and they're like, hey, give me the area of this shape, or like write out the formula to give me the area of this shape, and then simplify the formula down until you have a very clear formula for how to find the shape. And that will be like, they'll put a triangle on a square, and they'll do something else over here, and then they'll like combine all these funky shapes, and then they'll basically tell you, and then you have to like work out the formulas and then condense it down. Like, those problems I always loved because it kind of forces you to think outside the box. You're like, okay, wait a second, what processes, what steps am I doing? As opposed to, if they give you a bunch of different sides, you still have to do that, and then you would still write out the formula, but then it's just computation, and you're like, okay, well, now it's just plug and play and crunching numbers. I don't think anybody likes crunching numbers. Maybe they do. Maybe people enjoy crunching numbers. Who knows? I was definitely not that way. Like this, like the design of this stuff was a lot more fun because it was. Why does this one have a square in here? Are you seeing that? You seeing that? No, just on my screen. Okay, never mind. It looks glitched. It looks like the surface texture of that is glitched. Like, I always like, well, I'm not designing, I guess. I like experiments. especially like in this game, I love doing different experiments. I love seeing, okay, well, this is my hypothesis. Let's see if this works. That's actually how I built both the Guardian Farm and the Spider Killer. Is taking that thing is like, okay, I know I need to do this, and I know that this is my information that I'm presented with. Like, and that's kind of the thing is like, okay, I know that this height is, you know, whatever, 1 block tall, and I know that this enemy is actually, you know, half a block tall. So I need to figure out a way to make this function, but then also be able to, you know, access it from me. Oh, shoot, creepers. This is gonna be a problem. I don't know. Yeah, those are my favorite things, is trying to figure out how to do the math. We're gonna get so much gunpowder. Our rocket supply is gonna be endless. There we go. Okay, now we're safe for a little bit until the next creeper spawns, which he just did. Yeah, I don't know. I'm always more of a fan of, and I think that's probably why this book speaks to me, because I actually really do like abstraction and generalization. Because, yeah, I firmly believe that everything that we do is very mathematical and very, I don't know. I find connections a lot of the time in life between different things and different realities, not realities, different like events. And it's a lot easier to simplify once you know one of the other things that's going on. So for instance, like, you know, you can, what's it called? Like, I'm trying to think of what I mean by that. I'm just trying to get to bed. Now I'm in bed and it's safe. Like for instance, finding the similarities between certain things in existence, right? In your sphere and in your world, of like, goodness, come on. I had examples and now I don't have anything on my mind except for, you know, get this done, get this finished. We're losing steam is what we're doing. It's getting difficult to keep going. What was I thinking? I literally had a point. Literally, it was there in my brain, and now it's not there in my brain anymore. And all that's on my mind is that we filled this whole thing in, and that we're gonna have to fill in so much more, and it's only gonna get exponentially larger as it goes, but, you know, it's gonna be great. We're gonna take a look at the map here after we finish this section. Did you think it was gonna be an episode about Wall-E? Because that's what I thought when I started typing the Axiom, because the Axiom is the name of the ship in Wall-E, which is the word for truth or rule, which is interesting because there's also isn't there another one? Isn't there I think there's a popular character that's also Axiom. Axis? Axel? I don't know. Axel's a character from Kingdom Hearts. That was I saw this great video about trying to explain the plot of Kingdom Hearts. I wish I had if I had a PS4, I would totally play through Kingdom Hearts. Ooh, and also, what's it called? Horizon Zero Dawn. Those are top games on my list of things I want to do. I also want to finish this. Have you guys been keeping up with any of the updates for the things that are coming in this game? Because that's pretty cool. There's a lot of, oh man, Cases Place is gonna be great. It's gonna be really fun, really fun time. And then we'll build the fractal, not fractal. I do want to explore fractals in this game as well, just to kind of talk about further mathematics. Also, if you have any recommendations for books in the future, let me know, because I'm also thinking about, because we did, oh no, it's snowing. Because we did, we talked about mythology, we talked about, mythology, we talked about history with the Kennedy family, that book that was in there, and now we did mathematics. So I think there should be another book coming out. Or there should be another book that I should read. Are you liking these kind of bigger brain discussions, or would you rather have something more on the lines of more narrative or storytelling, like, you know, recapping a story, like read Frankenstein and then, you know, regurgitate Percy Shelley's Frankenstein. That was actually the last show I went to see in person before COVID struck, was a production of Frankenstein, which was really cool. It was a really cool production and a really cool story. So, or not, I mean, I knew the story, but it was like a really cool concept for how they were gonna do it. Oh, and we have to turn all of this green. So that's gonna be lots of fun. Let's go pick up a map. Let's go pick up a map and see what it looks like. Okay, this one is, yeah, we take it from this one. Oh, so close, so close. Oh wait, I thought there was one down here that I opened and used some. Thought I did. Did I not? Maybe I didn't. That's okay. Let's take a look at the map. Let's see what we did today, and then we'll probably call it there, because I've got some stuff that we need to get done. Sundays are work days. Sundays are work days for moi. Click. Click, click, click. Ooh, look at that map. Boom. Oh, look at that. Got a little bit of a... Why is it not registering 100% with that? Oh, is it also red? Is that what's going on? Oh, no, there it is. There it is. There it is. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Oh, does it register that other line too? Really? Oh, it might. It might just register the entire red line. Now that is pretty cool. It's gonna register the entire black line too. No, it's not. That's okay. But take a look at that. It's got the red on there. Slow progress, but it's working. Is it registering that orange line right next to that thing? It must be. It is. That's funky. That's interesting. So see, look at that. We're slowly building that the black line, and now we don't have enough over here for the black line, so we're gonna go back and put the map away and say goodbye to everyone, and then keep going with our day, because it's gonna be a great day today because it's Sunday. I love this. This is great. I have so much fun with these things, and I would think it'd be even. Yeah, I want to get more people involved, but right now it's hard. COVID sucks. Everyone's busy. Things are. Oh, look at that. That looks really cool, actually. Oh, the snow machine is still working. I should go check how much snow he's made. I didn't know that the snow machine was working. This is a machine that I made for my buddy over here, who lives in this grandiose castle. It's very decadent. Very decadent. I can't believe the snow machine is still working. This guardian is guarding the box. He's got tons of stuff. He's got tons of stuff. How's the... Oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Okay. We'll take the snow out and make snowballs. Oh, boy. I'll leave him a chest full of snowballs that he can store. Oh boy, it's probably what lags out the server every once in a while. This is ridiculous amount of snowballs that he has. There we go. Can we still open that one? Yes, we can. Okay. Make snow blocks. Make the snow blocks. Throw the snow blocks in there. And he's got it. It's a double chest too. Oh man, we can do it. Is it filled up already? Not yet. Okay. There we go. Oh man, snow is piling up. Oh, also, if you guys want to let me know, because there's also Minecraft Dungeons, and I have that, and I haven't played through any of the new stuff, and I kind of want to. I should have done it the other way. So if that's something you'd also like me to see, let me know, because that's something I'd like to do, but I'm not sure how I'm doing it yet. I wanted to do some video stuff on it, but making videos is so hard. not hard, it's just very time consuming. And as a collegiate student, it's not easy to find time to do the things, you know? If you're a collegiate student, or if you're just any student, it's hard to find time when you're trying to balance, you know, homework and life and school and sanity and not getting sick through all of it. Oh man, this is a whole, this should be a segment right here, making snow. That's a decent amount of snow though. This is an excellent machine. There we go. Da-da-da-da-dum. We've saved the day. I'm sure that it's still making snow and it's also still filtering snow, because they work incredibly slowly. There we go. Throw that in there. And then we'll get somewhere majestic so we can do a majestic sign off. And say goodbye until a week later. And then we'll work on some more stuff. And it'll be fantastic. Okay. Ooh, I really want to go in this room. This looks, oh wow. Wow, that is bright. That is bright and beautiful. Ah, it's raining. I thought this was enclosed. That's okay. Oh, I can't see it. Okay. Oh, this is so pretty. This is one of my favorites. There we go. And we'll do that with a little backdrop like that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is great. This is excellent. And we'll drop down here a little bit so our head can be right in the bullseye. In the church of the non-believers. Guys, thank you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for watching, for sticking around, for listening to crazy math, philosophy, life advice, theories, stories. I'm here every week on Sunday, just about. Took a little break, but now I'm back, and we'll have more things that we do. I'm also going to try to probably convert it over here to the PC and see how it runs. Maybe do a little shader pack tour and show you how the world looks like on high definition. Maybe. I'm still trying to work that out. Again, just time is hard to come by. But that's coming out. You guys are great. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you being here, for giving me your time, giving me your energy, watching me do some stuff, and listening to me ramble about books and life experience. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. I will see you. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'll see you when I see you. And I really appreciate you guys for all that you do. And I hope that you have a great Sunday. So go have a great Sunday. And tell somebody you love them and that they matter to you. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.